What is God's will for my life? This, in some sort of capacity, is the most commonly asked question I get. And I have created a full-length free course to be able to answer this question. I'm going to give you some pointers on that in this video, but I want you to check out that for free resources long-term on this topic, because there's so much that goes into this, and I don't want you to just hear a few cool tips to apply, but rather how to transform your lifestyle. Because looking more like Jesus is a lifestyle transformation. It is not just add a few more tools, tips, and tactics to your belt. First thing that I want to cover, Christianity is not about you. You gave your life to Jesus. Jesus did not give his life to you. He gave his life for you, but he did not give his life to you. You are called to give your life to Jesus. What does that actually mean? What that means is your life is not your own, and you've been bought with a price. Like it says in Corinthians. So you are to live how Christ has called you to. You're supposed to Matthew 16:24 yourself and deny yourself, pick up your cross daily, live for Jesus. You're following him. And that means that you don't get what you want and get to do what you want because you want to. You get to follow him. And that doesn't mean your life is just miserable and constant suffering. It might mean that you're going to face persecution, but it doesn't mean that that's all going to just be negative things. But the point is, we're living for him. So that's the first thing. I hear 90+% of sermons preached in churches on Sunday mornings is all about your life and your benefits and the blessings that you can receive for you doing things your way, the ways that you want them to empower you, to better you, to make you feel better, how to get through your day more comfortably, rather than even in the prosperity means of, how to get you more money and health, wealth, and happiness. And that is so not Jesus. That's not scripture. That's not what God's called you to. None of those things. So that's the first thing I want to cover. Second thing I want to cover is, now that we have a foundation that Christianity is not about you, we understand that Christianity is about somebody else. It's about Jesus, and it's about others. Jesus said the greatest command is that you would love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and that you would love your neighbor as yourself. What that means is you are focusing on the people around you in your life, and you're not focusing on you and what you want. This means that your life is going to be solely, fully devoted to Jesus and what Jesus has called you to. You need to make your intentionality and your purpose behind life to make God well known and to make God glorified. That looks like you not just trying to focus on getting your spouse and your job the way that you want it and getting your finances how you hope that they would be so that you can live where you want to. Do you hear this language that is, I keep repeating about you? This is like the classic Christian life. So right now I'm going over a lot of what nots to do, right? But that doesn't answer the question of what to do. Well, first thing that you need to do, there's really three aspects of the Christian life. Your upward relationship, your inward relationships, and your outward relationships. Your upward has to do with you and Jesus alone. Your prayer time, your reading in scriptures time, your fasting, your devotion to Jesus himself. This upward part of it is the first part that most people fail at. They don't even get to part number 2, especially number 3. You're like an expert level Christian if you hit number 3 regularly. Number 1 is just you spending time in reading and prayer predominantly. If you're not doing this on a daily basis, then you've fully missed the mark right off the bat. Second part is your inward time. Inward is in reference to the fellowship time that you spend, your time in communion with other believers, and discipleship. Most Christians go to church on a Sunday morning, but that usually is where it ends when it comes to your Christian interactions, is you just go to church. Some people, they're super spiritual, quote unquote, they'll go to a small group too. Neither of those things did Jesus ever do, nor did he ever ask you to do, and it's what we are literally basing the entire foundations of fellowship and church life as. It's very perplexing to me. I don't know where we came up with that. Again, it doesn't mean you can't go. It doesn't mean those things are sin. It means for those things to be the fullness of what you consider and define as church and fellowship is way not correct. So, and again, there's answers to those things and what those things actually should look like. I have made full, totally free courses to show you the answers to those things. So I'll let you check those out. And then finally is our time outwardly towards feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, and that, Matthew 25 is in reference to Christians, but to be able to do all those things and serve those who are lost as well. To be Jesus, a good Samaritan, sorry, would be a better analogy I should have used. But to be a good Samaritan to those who are non-believers, right? The good Samaritan is in reference to a non-believer story. To be a good neighbor to that person, as well as to evangelize to the lost. Now, this is the one, again, if you're at this part, you're at like super expert Christian level. You're like level 10. But this is the next thing that I see that Christians very, very rarely do in their Christian walks. And these are the things as Christians that we are supposed to find our intentionality and our time being filled up with. And sadly, I see that it's almost the entire opposite, that Christians will spend their life doing their own stuff that they want to do, their jobs, their ministry, or I shouldn't say even their ministry, sometimes ministry is an aspect of it, but oftentimes not even their ministries, but their families, their jobs, their friends and stuff like that. And if there's enough time at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, if they're finally found enough time, they'll also go to church on Sunday morning, or they'll also hang out with another believer. They'll often, or sometimes pray, or when, grandma gets sick with cancer, then they'll actually spend time in prayer and fast for the first time in their life, or the first time in a long time. This is so counterintuitive to what the gospel's called us to and what we're supposed to do as Christians. My challenge and my encouragement to you is to dive deeper into these topics, and that diving deeper is going to be in the link under this, where it gives you links to all my totally free Christian courses, so you can learn what looking like Jesus on a more full and regular basis actually looks like. Appreciate you all. Love you all. Chat in the next one.